let's learn how to set up your ViewSonic 53 series panel. Now, before we can begin the setup process, we need to enable a couple services in the debug menu. To do this, grab the remote, and you're going to press on the remote the source button followed by the numbers 9, 9, and then 1. Keep in mind the sensor for the remote is on the front right of the panel, so point it in that direction. I'm going to press source 991, and you're going to see here that that opens up the debug menu. Now in the debug menu, I'm going to go down to where it says System Settings, and you're going to see two services. Enable Google Multi-User Switcher, which is set to off. That needs to be set on. And then enable ViewSonic Service Pages. That also needs to be set on. Now, if you're going to go ahead and continue the setup without updating the firmware, just turn off the panel, turn it back on, and then complete the setup process. However, if the firmware is out of date, you might want to update it with a flash drive. Now is a good time to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our flash drive and we're going to put it into the front USB on the panel. I am going to shut off the panel using the power switch. I'm going to turn the panel back on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the power button, and I'm just going to continue to hold the power button down. This is going to tell the panel to look for the firmware, which is on the flash drive. So I'm going to continue to hold it even on the boot logo until I see the upgrade icon. Once I see the upgrading logo, I'm going to let it finish. Make sure you don't turn off the panel or remove the USB. If the firmware fails during the upgrade process, maybe you lose power or it stops, you might need to turn the panel off and turn it back on and hold down that power button one more time. However, you might notice that the screen is blank or it's not giving you any visual feedback. In a scenario like that, you can always connect a monitor to the HDMI out port, and then you'll be able to see visually what's happening on the display. This process here is going to take about 7 to 10 minutes, so we're going to let it finish, and then we'll go over the final setup steps. After updating the firmware, the panel will probably restart a couple times. You also might see a notification saying that the hardware is upgrading. Just let all that finish until you're back at the setup screen. So now we're going to go ahead and start the setup process. You're going to see here that it wants us to connect to a network. We recommend setting it up offline for one of two reasons. One, it speeds up the process of the setup, but two, you'll notice that it skips what we call the Google account creation. This is important because if you create a Google account during the initial setup, it actually turns on what we call device lock, which makes it very difficult to factory reset the panel. Because if you factory reset the panel at some point, you need the original email and password to get back into the panel. So we're going to go ahead and say continue to make sure that we skip that. We're going to leave the date and time where it is because it'll automatically adjust once we connect it to the internet. We're going to accept the Google services. And then we do need to create a PIN code for the owner account. So pick something that you'll remember. You need to enter it twice, minimum of 4 characters. Now on this screen, you're going to see here that we have a choice between Google Launcher and vLauncher. Google Launcher is for use of Google Apps and multiple users, while vLauncher is for a more simplified experience, mainly just whiteboarding and casting. So if you want to use Google Apps, choose Google Launcher. If you want a simplified experience, choose vLauncher, and then finish the setup. Now this screen is very important. This is for my ViewBoard manager. Make sure it's selected, do not uncheck it, and we're going to click next. And then we're going to boot the panel into normal mode, although you do have the ability to disable the Android. Now that we're on the home screen, the first thing we need to do is connect the panel to the internet. So we're going to go to Settings. We're going to choose Internet. Find the network you'd like to connect to, or of course you could Ethernet in. Now that we're connected to the internet, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down on the left, down to where it says System. We're going to make sure that the sidebars are toggled on because the sidebars are important for navigation. You can see they're turned on by default, but we can always double check it. And now the panel is ready to be used by anyone else who needs access to it. All we need to do is lock it. The way that we lock it is we just press the power button once. And next time someone needs to use the panel, if they walk up to it, you'll notice it goes to the lock screen. They can swipe up. You'll see here the default account is the owner account, but we secured that with the PIN code. No one should be using the owner account except for IT admin just to get into the back end and change settings. Any user would come in and add themselves as a user here, where they can then enter their email address, sync with their Google Drive, or you can use the panel as guest. Keep in mind, a lot of the settings can also be managed with my ViewBoard Manager. Be sure to watch our videos on how to do that.